Hey, let's build a unionist and nationalist coalition for free speech and against Humza Yousaf at the forthcoming Glasgow Pollok Scottish ejection. That's our message to you in this, our episode 2 of Countdown to the Great Scottish Ejection, with 34 days to go, and the whole country's waiting just to see that show. With 34 days to go, and it's Humza Yousaf who's going to be out and looking for a proper job. Now, we are directly outside his office here in Paisley Road West, but it's all shut up. Humza has shut up shop, and that will probably stay shut because he's not going to win. He's going to be out, and we are reminding you all that if he loses in Glasgow Pollok, then he is out of Holyrood. He does not have an insurance policy on the regional list. Okay, so we're going to tell you how to get this man out. If you're watching on YouTube, please share. If you're watching on Twitter, please retweet. And if you're watching on Facebook, please share as well. Okay, please get this message out that we are going to get Humza out. We're going to get him out of Glasgow and out of the Scottish Parliament for good, because he has to pay democratically for his attack on Scottish values and his attack on Scottish culture, which was the anti-free speech law, which he brought forth and which he passed in March 2 or 3 weeks ago. Democratically, that goes against everything that we believe here in Scotland, and we have to get this man out. We have to give Humza the heave, and we have to get Humza out. Okay, and we can do that on Thursday, the 6th of May, and I'm going to talk to you exactly about how we do that. But first, I just want to talk up the great potential of our wonderful United Kingdom and the harmony which can and does exist in our islands, but which Humza and unfortunately many like him want to break up. Now, we believe that the United Kingdom is one country and all of it belongs to all of us. And it's made up of several countries, but it is, of course, much more a nation of unions than a union of separate nations. We have come together through time to the point where all of the United Kingdom belongs to all of us who live in it, regardless of where we come from. The UK is not so much a union of separate nations, but rather a nation of unions, which have been built up through time to the point where it belongs to us all. We are not, and we should not be divided by nations as the SNP is trying to do to us. And indeed, we're often united quite literally as families, not so much a family of nations, but an actual nation of families. Okay, we are a nation of families, and we talk about that in our wee book for the Union, which is available at aforceforgood.uk. And we see the SNP and all those who would break us up as ultimately ruining the harmony which can exist. Okay, so we're going to move on here just round the corner in a couple of minutes. But right now, I want to remind all the Scottish nationalists who are watching, we understand your point of view. We understand that the United Kingdom and Scotland has been misgoverned for many years. We're not disputing that. We've all got issues with that, but things would get considerably worse if we were to all break up and go our separate ways. So the UK is the best that we've found for us all to rub along together and get the best of it all. 4 separate nations going their own way would be chaos. Simple as that. Now, specifically talking about Yousaf, right? We believe his Anti-Free Speech Act is a fundamental betrayal of our nation's core values. We believe the SNP has betrayed Scotland with this 1984 style law. It has ignored the lessons of our history and the culture of our country. And we're not alone, because we know as Unionists that many Scottish nationalists agree with us. Many Unionists and nationalists are united around the idea of rejecting the woke lunacy and cancel culture that Humza epitomises. And in that sense, Scottish Unionists and Scottish nationalists can come together to get Humza out. And so, and so to those Scottish nationalists out there who embrace free thought, who embrace free speech, and who embrace free expression, and who oppose the radical indoctrination of our country by people like Humza Yousaf, then we say to you, please do not endorse what they are doing by constantly voting for them. Because if you vote for Humza on the Glasgow Pollok ballot paper, then you are endorsing him. You are endorsing him specifically. You are endorsing his radical, woke, anti-Scottish agenda. So if you're a Scottish nationalist and if you believe in free speech, which I know many of you do, then the good news is that you do have a choice. Because when you go to the ballot box, simply you remember that you have two votes this time. On the first vote, you'll be voting for the candidate for Glasgow Pollok. And there's several candidates standing, some of whom also believe in Scottish independence. So if you're an SNP person and you cannot bring yourself to vote for Humza again, then vote for one of the other parties on the Glasgow Pollok ballot paper, which endorses independence. So you've got a choice to vote for them. You don't have to vote for Humza. Now, if you cannot bring yourself, to vote for these other parties, then simply don't vote on the first ballot paper. Because remember, you will have a second vote. And on the second ballot paper, which is for the Glasgow region, you can vote for whoever you want. And you can vote for the SNP on there if you wanted. But all we are saying to the SNP supporters is don't vote for Humza on the Glasgow Pollok ballot paper. Okay, vote for anybody else on the Glasgow ballot paper. And in the Glasgow region, you can vote for the SNP then if you want, but just make sure you don't vote for Humza, because Humza's not on the regional list, okay? He's only on the Glasgow Pollok list. So vote for Humza only is displayed on the first ballot paper. So don't vote for him on the first ballot paper. That's so crucial, because if you vote for him, you're endorsing his woke agenda. And we have to save Scotland from Humza. We have to save Scotland from Humza. And that is the job of Scottish Unionists and Scottish nationalists who oppose the woke agenda of Humza. So let's build a Unionist and nationalist coalition for free speech and against Humza Yousaf on Thursday, the 6th of May. Let's get a change of scenery. I'm going to change the camera around. Okay, this is Glasgow. Now I want to move around the corner because I just want to take you to an interesting monument that's round the corner, which will talk about some history in the constituency. But while I'm walking round there, remember, you can only vote if you're registered to vote. Okay, now as we mentioned yesterday, Humza was only elected in 2016 because nobody knew who he was. He was riding the SNP wave at the time, and because the turnout was so low, over half the constituency of Glasgow Pollok did not vote at all. Okay, I'm going to say that again. In 2016, over half of the population of Glasgow Pollok constituency did not vote at all. Now that's how he got in. That's how he got in. 3 out of 4 people did not vote for him. Okay, now that can't happen again. If we can get more people, coming up and voting for anyone but Humza, then he's out. And we have to do this, man. We have to do this. We have to get Humza out. We have to make Humza history in Glasgow Pollok. And we can do this, but it needs everybody to be registered to vote. Now, let me bring up where you can register to vote if you're not registered to vote already. Okay, if you're not registered to vote, you need to get registered today. Okay, time is running out. Go on to that site, gov.uk/register to vote, and you can register there. It'll take you just a few minutes. And if you've got mates who are not registered, please get them registered as well. Help them to do so, because they might not have the desire or be bothered to do it. Okay, so help them to do it if you can. Now, some people will be saying, do I live in Glasgow Pollok? What exactly are the boundaries of Glasgow Pollok? Well, let me tell you right now. If you live in the following areas, then you live in the constituency of Glasgow Pollok. Let me read out those areas for you. Okay, if you live in Shield Hall or the Elder Park area, or parts of Govan near BAE Systems, or Drummoyne, Pennylee, Hillington, Cardonald, Craigton, Crookston, Ross Hall, Moss Park, Hawk Hill, Corker Hill, Priest Hill, House Hill Woods, the Silverburn Centre area, Nitz Hill, Darnley, Arden, and Jenny Lind. If you live in these areas, then Humza is your MSP and you can vote him out. Okay, so register to vote if you're not already registered. And remember that you will have 2 votes. So if you usually support the SNP in your constituency, then this time simply don't vote. Don't vote for Humza. And there are plenty of other people on the Pollok ballot paper that you can vote for instead, including ones who support independence. And there's certainly going to be plenty also on the second ballot paper too. So now for some history in the constituency. To the extent that I can, I want to intersperse these short broadcasts with some local history. And I want to take you down here to show you a little known memorial, which I just discovered about a year ago. And while I'm walking down, Let me tell you where I am. This is Craigton Cemetery, and this is the War Memorial in Craigton Cemetery. Wow, what a beautiful shot for this Good Friday. What does it say? To the honoured memory of those sailors and soldiers who gave their lives for their country in the Great War, 1914-1918, and who lie buried in this cemetery. Their name liveth for evermore. Okay, yeah. There's a memorial down here which I'm going to take you to, which we'll get to in a couple of minutes, which is a memorial to men who died in the SS Daphne disaster, which was the Clyde's worst ever disaster when the SS Daphne foundered in the water immediately after its launch in Govan. And that was back on the 3rd of July in 1883. And it was the practice in those days to have the workmen on board the ship while it was being launched so that they could immediately start work as soon as it was in the water. They weren't going to waste precious moments, as it were. Well, that's, of course, proved to be a very dangerous practice, and a terrible capsize occurred on the 3rd of July 1883, and 124 men were drowned. And that practice ended, and from then on, they only had a very small skeleton crew when they launched the ship in order that they would be able to moor it thereafter. So a terrible tragedy before they changed those working practices. The ship itself was raised and repaired. There's a small memorial to them in Victoria Park, and there's a memorial here that appears to have been put up by, I guess you call it, one of the guilds, to their members who perished in that tragedy. And it's just round the corner here. A beautiful day in the great British city of Glasgow. So, folks, this is episode 2 of our countdown to the great Scottish ejection of the 6th of May. And we're reminding you, as always, that Humza is out if he loses in Pollok. Humza is out if he loses in Pollok. And so if you're a Scottish nationalist, please don't vote for him on the Glasgow Pollok ballot paper, because he's against the Scottish values of freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And he's proven that with his anti-free speech law, which he brought in back in March. And here we arrive at this memorial to the SS, to the dead of the SS Daphne, which sunk when it was launched back in 1883. Let's just take a little walk over to what it says here. Erected by the Associated Shipwrights in memory of their late members who lost their lives by the capsizing of the SS Daphne on the Clyde on her being launched on the 3rd of July 1883. And the names there are listed of some of those who perished. Including the apprentices. And those are the same names that appeared on the front. And there's a little poem that appears on the back and on the front as well. Pearson Guild here, who was accidentally killed 5 years later. And the wee poem here, it says, "A sudden change, we in a moment fell. We had not time to bid our friends farewell. Think this not strange, death happens unto all. This day was ours, tomorrow you may fall." Well, that is a fitting message for this Easter weekend, and it's a fitting message to conclude this broadcast. Folks, I wish you all a lovely and blessed Easter weekend. We're going to be back on Monday with episode 3, where we are again going to be sticking it hard to Humza, where we are going to ensure that we can get Humza out and that we can purge the scourge. But that needs all of us to be involved, folks, okay? We can do this and we will do this. We are going to get Humza out. Please share this broadcast, folks. Get this about. It's all good information. It's all giving you courses of action. Let's do this. I'm changing the camera background to bid you adieu. All the best, folks. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you Monday, same time at 12:30. Have a lovely weekend.